This is Kings and Conquerors, an Age of Empires 2 podcast by Mumm and Pennenbuisje.
All hail, ye kings and conquerors! In the last days of August, the developers of our favorite game released the long-awaited and very impactful patch 666.92. This patch might have had a diabolical ring to it, not just because of those first three numbers, but because it impacted a very long-established part of the game meta, the cost of the Archer line unit upgrades. A lot has been said about the effects of this change, and as is common in our community, opinions can vary, from some welcoming this change with applause, and others shouting out bloody heresy. But despite of being the most focal point of change, this shift was far from the only curiosity in the gameplay balance. At the time of recording this podcast, the patch has been out for a few weeks, and we dare attempt to make a first evaluation and look at what is to come with this new balance.
Welcome everybody to the first episode of the Kings and Conquerors podcast, a podcast where you listeners are the kings and we conquer different topics. I guess we're normally going to do a bit of a different format, but just for fun, we're basically only going to discuss the update. My name is Cursed, at least my online name.
Cursed Mumm, to be full, right?
Indeed, but let's say Cursed. And this is my co-host, Pennenbuisje.
But I think Pennenbuisje will be too hard for anyone who's not native Dutch speaker, so Pen might be an easier thing to go with.
I like it. It's got a snap to it.
Yeah.
So the patch update. I guess you can kind of guide us through it.
All right. Dear listeners, let's start with the stability and performance changes that were made in your recent patch.
Riveting. Tell me everything.
The first thing they've changed is they fixed an issue where players could get stuck on the main menu screen after accepting an invitation and successfully joining a match.
Wait, is that the thing where when you send me an invite and I click it, nothing happens?
Yeah, I think so. That I can see you in the party, but you're still on the menu.
That's good to know.
Next issue fixed is the issue where the game was failing to show other clans in the clan browser, which then caused the game to get stuck when clicking disband clan.
Wait, we are members of a clan. Can you tell the listeners our clan name?
Yeah, our current clan is called Idle TC, and it has a description that idling your TC is the best strategy because it saves up food to click the next age, which is in fact true, but I wouldn't recommend it.
No, it's advanced strategies.
Yeah,
that's why if you want to join this clan, you need to, prove yourself.
And that's why if you really want to rank up, you go up on Trevels. That's just the way it is.
Exactly.
Okay,
anyway, I think the next couple of points are kind of boring, so let's skip them.
We can just go over it. Stability and performance, yeah, pretty good. They fix up this game. Achievements, I'm not really a big try hard on this part, but they've added a few. So graphic wise, they fixed some issues there with the flares. Some people didn't have the flares during the games. I think that may have happened to me, or maybe I just don't see it sometimes. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, we had that, remember?
Yeah, but I have it. When I don't see a flare on the minimap, I also think it's probably me, right? It's like I don't think there's an issue, but apparently there was, and they fixed it, so that's.
I think communication was an issue in general for us, and this wasn't helping. Have you ever had that when you're like playing, you're used to playing Nomad and flaring your start TC position?
And you do it 1v1?
You do it free for all.
Okay.
I've done it so many times where I just tell everybody where my base is.
Yeah. And can I ask you an additional question?
For sure.
How many times has it happened to you that you didn't know whether a unit was a spearman or a skirmisher?
That's a good question. I don't think I've had that issue. And the only time where I really go for both skirms and spearmen is in a composition is when I'm playing Byzantines and I'm just flooding with all the trash I can of feudal age, and I wouldn't even give a shit if it was a skirmisher or a spearman. Like anything I can throw at you, it's fine. So yeah, I never really thought about it.
Well, personally, I don't think I've ever mixed them up as well, so I think it's a bit weird, but they've changed it up, so the skirmishers have a new idle stance now, because apparently some people were mixing them up. The pose was used in Age of Empires 2 Legacy games, but I have no idea what this is.
Good for the people who had issues. It's always good for the visibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to the next part, which is the UI. Do we care about the UI?
There's a few things there, like apparently if your armor went under 0, it didn't show. Like if it's -1 or something, now it shows. Like issues like this, they've fixed some glitches, they've changed some quality of life things, but nothing big. Like a small tweak here, small tweak there. Good things all, but not really worth mentioning in a podcast.
So we should keep going. Then settings, co-op missions. That's okay. Wait, what was this? Implemented a new rematch feature? This looks interesting. After a match has concluded, the rematch system creates an opportunity for all users in the match to opt into joining a new custom multiplayer lobby together with the same match settings.
Have you tried it?
Wait, but no. If we team up for a ranked game, can we just, because that was always annoying to end up in the main menu and then be like, okay, I'm gonna send you an invite again. I'm gonna click on the right maps to ban. I'm going to choose that's the worst. If they could just streamline that.
Yeah. If they could just like get you a fix on your team, where you immediately are in the queue together if you want to play team random map or team Empire Wars or whatever, team rank games, that you can like immediately be with your team. Or like if you have like a squad leader, that like whatever the squad leader does, the others join.
And that's how it works in other games, like League of Legends and stuff like that. You can, if you have your little group, you can keep playing. That's part of why people keep playing that game.
Yeah, and if multiplayer games, like a big part about it is playing with your friends or with just connecting with people. And these things, I think you can really see Age of Empires as an old game. Like the UI, the menus, I think it's a classic. It's like chess. It will never get old. But then everything around the game, there's a lot to improve on, right?
And I wonder if, like, okay, the engine of the game has its limitations and they are doing amazing new civilizations all the time. But this stuff, is that really limited to the fact that, probably it's limited to the fact that they have to code it in an ancient game? Because it wouldn't be that difficult, right, to make a modern system?
I don't have any coding experience or knowledge. I can just imagine that, like, if it's layers on layers on layers, if you want to change something that's so deep into the base code, it can be tricky, maybe?
No, it's not just that. It's just, yeah, I know a little bit about coding, and it's, you're like building a tower like Jenga. So you're like, if you want to keep adding blocks, you need to sometimes go deep on the bottom, pull something out, and the older the Jenga program is, the more it's unstable. So you pull something out, and it's like, why did everything collapse?
Yeah.
And you don't know why. So I think that's the problem.
Honestly, just the fact that this game is still being patched is wonderful.
To support your argument, they just fixed an issue that made the game basically unplayable as the Gurjaras. If you check the next topic.
If I check the next topic here. Wait, are we still on settings? No, we skipped like a whole deal, right?
No.
Oh.
We're in hotkeys.
Hotkeys. Fix an issue where the auto farm reseed hotkey wasn't working for Gujara mills with garrisoned sheep. But isn't that like a balance thing? If you have the sheep garrisoned, you have to manually farm. You're not allowed to auto farm. You already have this automatic food, so yeah. Just
the sheep are messing up the mill. There's like an automatic farming system, and they're just like messing it up.
Oh, that's the thing. Yeah, they're eating the grain. Yeah. Actually, it's just realism.
Okay. Oh, just imagine these sheep destroying the inside of the mill. Their wool is getting in the way. Oh, wow.
Sometimes they say they fix something, and then a month later, with the newest patch, it's back. So let's just hope for this one.
Yeah, indeed, let's hope. Okay.
Spectator mode. They have fixed an issue where players pausing a match in-game might cause it to become permanently paused for spectators.
Oof, that's bad.
Thing is, I don't really spectate that much live games from other people.
No, you watch a stream, right?
Yeah, I watch a stream, or I watch my own replays or somebody else's replays
Ooh,
sometimes.
I watch my own replays. It's the best thing to
Don't you?
No, I let you watch my replays.
Normally the advice is watch your losses and look at and especially in Capture Age, if you see like you had an eco advantage or you had a military advantage, but you didn't really use it, that's when you see it and you see why you lost. But the thing is, I don't like losing games. I don't like watching my losses. So I just watch my wins and I don't learn anything. I'm just like high on my own victory. Like I want to feel the rush again without the stress. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'm so good. But then the losses.
I think that also helps, somehow.
For your improvements, I don't think so. Unless you're really looking at yourself like, where could he have had me? But I'm just looking at my knights killing villagers, so that's not really...
I see what you mean, but I've also had it where you watch your loss and it's like, yeah, this guy was better than me. There was nothing I could have done.
But at least then you know. But I've also watched some games where he felt better than me, but then I see like he was open, or I had more military or more eco, or I just left myself open, or like things like this, and you just see it perfectly there.
You surrender, the fog of war lifts, and you're like, what, that's all he had? Why did it feel like such a overpowering force? And now you see it was funded by 3 villagers and a sheep in a mill, So it's like,
yeah,
crazy.
It's hard to see like post game.
Okay, well, spectator mode, right?
Yeah, so I think usually for streamers this will be a big thing, like the tournaments, so we don't have any issue during tournaments. So good thing.
I hope everything is gonna go well with Wololo. It's starting soon, right? But yeah, I hope that goes smoothly because I think they had some internet issues. No one's. Anyway, wait. Let's not talk about this here. We're talking about the update.
So let's switch to the gameplay.
Oof, the actual gameplay. Yes, you can actually play this game. I know, crazy. Now the first thing is with these animals. I don't think this was ever really. I mean, I never knew the difficulty setting made it. You knew that?
Yeah. So the way it was is that the easier your difficulty was, the less line of sight animals had. So that means boar, but also wolves, like the Gaia, they had less line of sight. So it made it easier because you got attacked less by wild animals, but it actually made laming and luring in a certain way harder. Because the line of sight was less, it was easier to lose a boar when you were laming. I think mostly laming, it will have had a difference because the villager always is quite close to it.
Ooh, it was also when you send your vill out, to build your stone wall. It was always a wolf, and then right after you handled that, your enemy's knights arrive.
Yes. And on extreme AI, then, if there's like Gold Rush or the game with all the wolves in the middle, I think it's Gold Rush, right? The wolves have crazy line of sight.
Okay.
So now they've changed it, and they have fixed it for all difficulties. So if I'm right, that means that they've changed it for all predators, and I think the others will be standardized as well. They will always see villagers within 6 tiles and other units within 4 tiles. So
look, it's all well and good, this update, but they just need to fix how scary elephants are, and everything will be fine. That's the main thing. That's a problem with this game. Elephants are really scary. Okay.
And you mean like the Indian elephants or the Gaia elephants?
No, the Gaia elephant, of course.
Yeah.
That thing loves killing your villagers. You see, he enjoys it. It's not like a boar. A boar does it. It's like, sorry, but these elephants, he just like tramples over. Anyway, so moving on.
Yeah, moving on.
Yes, players are no longer able to push enemy units away during treaty by building foundations on top of them.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
No, I also didn't know that was a thing. I knew that treaty is a bit weird. Like, you can't even kill their sheep, right?
Yeah, I've had that yesterday. So the treaty was still going on. I wanted to kill his sheep because I couldn't steal it. And you can't even do it. You can't even butcher a sheep.
You're a horrible person. Just leave the sheep alone.
If you can't do anything early game, you do it, right? I was just crossing him, so I felt like Jack.
The treaty thing is a good thing, though, because I remember the days where people would wall your TC in, and they would just, like, be horrible to you. I mean, it's bad enough they can still wall in your gold or stone or kill your deer, but that was horrible.
I like it, you know. It adds value to the game.
Because you're a horrible person.
Yeah. The trade cards and trade cocks and fishing boats are now properly affected by the hit points increase from the handicaps. Okay, the handicap system.
Nobody uses that.
Yeah. The big one that I wanted to talk about was the depleted resources no longer disappear on the minimap Fog of War. And that was actually a big thing, right? If you can see resources depleting in the minimap, you don't actually have the scouted information. Like, you scouted there once, and you see like their gold is going away, you know, it's on that gold. And you can exploit it.
But so you already scouted it before, and now you see the gold from getting.
I don't know how sharp you must be, but you notice there's something changing over there, so you attack it.
To be honest, me, it's more the issue that I just have this huge black spot next to the enemy base where they have an entire second base. So this is my kind of update.
Maybe the situation in which it's most noticeable is like when somebody is on the trip cutting something or so.
Ooh. Okay, well, interesting. Keep an eye on it. Let's see if it's ever useful in one of our games. You know, now we know this exists.
No, it doesn't exist. It's away. They fixed it. So right now the minimap doesn't show you anything you haven't scouted for yourself. So that's a good thing. And apparently you could cheat by looking at the minimap, but you can't do it anymore.
Now I don't want to play Black Forest anymore. So campaign missions, I think we both stopped playing those a long time ago.
I would just summarize that they've changed a lot of the campaign things. I think it's mostly balance. If I go over it, it's like they've made somebody a bit weaker. They did the balance a bit differently. They fixed some crashes. So they're still tweaking the campaigns, which on its own is a good thing, because I think the player base for the single player is quite high. I think it's bigger than the multiplayer. So it's good that they're still investing in it, but I don't really want to go over it. Do you?
No, I want to talk about the real important changes, which is, you know, why the people are actually listening to our expert insights. Okay, Pen, we've reached a part of the podcast where we're going to discuss civilization balance. So I'll give the word to you. What's one of the main changes that happened?
Well, I believe the main change will be the change of the unit upgrade cost for the Archer line, as was said in the introduction of this podcast, and is, I think, the biggest reason why people should want to learn more about this patch, because this is the biggest tweak within the established balance, because it touches virtually all possible matchups in the game. So let's look at the Archer line and what the unit actually gets from those upgrades. Crossbowman gives you +1 attack and range, and +5 HP, and +30% faster creation, and +5 accuracy. For those who wonder, a basic archer has 80% accuracy, hitting a stationary target 4 times out of 5. Now, the Crossbowman upgrade, usually, or before the patch, it cost 125 food and 75 gold, and now it costs 175 food and 125 gold. So that's an extra 100 res. So basically the upgrade is still exactly the same, but it costs a bit more.
It's, I think, widely seen as one of the strongest upgrades in the game, no? For a unit?
Yeah, I think it is. When you look at it and you add it all up, you can see you get quite a lot for it. I mean, the accuracy is just a little thing, but the extra attack you get, the faster creation, the extra HP is not that big, but all those things together really give it a
punch, yes.
Yeah, but it's still actually pretty cheap. It's only 300 resources. So if you're going archers, even after the patch, when you get to castle, I think you should go immediately for the crossbow. It's a very big upgrade.
That's really interesting. This is how I learned about this 30% production increase. I never really knew this before. Amazing.
No?
But so much like hidden information, though. I mean, there's not obvious when you read the upgrade all these changes. Maybe with some mods, I think you could. But I mean, who pays attention to that? I think the real question, though, is this change to crossbowman actually important for people of our elo? Like, we are not the biggest pros. We are not researching all the upgrades with ballistics at the same time. Would we actually feel it?
Yeah, well, I was gonna get to it because first of all, the arbalester, which is the imp upgrade, it also had its cost increased, and for that it's now 100 extra food, 100 extra gold, so 200 extra resources. And with the arbalest, you get 1 extra attack, 5 HP, 5 accuracy, and the accuracy you can ignore because most top civilizations have Tamring, which gives 100%
Well,
accuracy.
not all of them. Not all of them.
Not Britons, not Britons.
And actually, that's an upgrade I often forget also.
Yeah?
Yeah, it happens.
I think if you keep in mind that archers, well, also need the blacksmith upgrades. They need Tamring, usually, I think, ballistics, chemistry, to come to their full potential. So all the things you need for archers. The question is not really whether this nerf really nerfs archers, this extra cost, but rather the speed of the power spike, or how people will prioritize the upgrades. I think that's the real point of interest with this change.
I think to me, this really shows that, I mean, I already knew going crossbowman upon reaching castle age is super important, more important than going for the botkin, right? But in Imperial Age, I might actually, I mean, I used to just always want to click Arbalest as fast as possible and then look at the blacksmith afterwards, but perhaps that's a mistake. I should first click the blacksmith upgrade and then the Arbalest. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, for sure. Because the arbalest, they get 1 extra attack, a bit more HP, which is, well, you can ignore it. And then the accuracy, I think, doesn't matter that much in Imperial Age. You need the numbers, or usually you have Tamring. If you're not Britons, I don't know if there's another top archer civ who doesn't have it, but I don't think so.
I have no idea.
But just because it's cheaper to get the range and the attack, arbalest is still an upgrade you get, but it's definitely not a priority, while crossbow is and will remain so. But because it's just a bit more expensive, maybe you will not be able to get it as well as your blacksmith upgrades or as well as your second TC, which is making villagers. It's a small tweak, but you add it with the arbalest, and then I think the biggest impact is like the fast in play, or like the really fast archer aggression.
Yeah.
When we talk about like the balance of it and how you play archers, how do you feel archers are performing or were performing before the patch?
I feel like in our elo, because I mean, this podcast is not really aimed at the highest level pros. I guess we're more focusing the beginners and the let's say intermediates. I feel like cavalry in general is often stronger because it's easier to manage. You have a get out of jail free card by running away if you don't want to engage. And archers often they die because you mismanage them. You didn't see the Mangonel coming. You overextended, and these changes are not going to impact at our level. Let's say the food costs. You always have some res floating anyway upon reaching castle. So I don't think it's actually going to change how good or how bad they are. I think it's more for the upper level, the pros. They might have a big impact, but for us, I mean, I don't see it making a difference in how I rate them. No.
I think I agree because when I looked at this, before the patch, just when I would listen to my gut feeling, I would say archers are strong, are maybe stronger than Cav, because when you look at the pro games, which is the games you watch the most, you see them a lot and you see their power. When you look at the stats of the archers in general, they actually perform below average. The top archer civilizations are actually below average civilizations. And you can ask, why is this? And I think it's what you said. It's an archer is not a mobile unit. It's not very powerful on its own when you compare it to a cavalry unit, which is its most obvious alternative. And their power really resides in their numbers, their range, and the power spike in early Castle Age. That's only if you have been producing them in feudal and kept them well alive, which is also a trick to do. Yeah, to summarize, I think the archer gameplay is like a bit more high risk, high reward, in which you don't really get the strongest unit when you buy it, but if all goes well and you execute things properly, you will get a really powerful power ball or power spike.
I think it's a good way to conclude this topic. I do think that one last aspect is the hidden bonus, of course, that archers are always stronger when your opponent is playing them than when you're playing them somehow. But indeed, I think the meta at our level will stay what it is, and cavalry will reign supreme as they have been doing.
Yeah. Just my final thought is that this change. Well, I welcome like a fresh wind into the gameplay balance. It changes things up, but I don't know if archers really needed a nerf in general.
Yeah, it's true. Well, they can't make an update for only the 2K plus players.
Yeah.
So I think it was necessary to change up the competitive meta
Yeah.
and make those games more interesting. And of course, I mean, these changes, as we said, are not going to impact us at all the way down here on the elo ladder. So I think that's actually a good idea to do these changes, so that's more interesting.
Only Leary will really feel the difference of this shift.
I want to see if he really feels it, though. I mean, he's insane. So,
Yeah.
so moving on, another update is the HP for Dark and Feudal Age stone walls. It has been increased from 900 to 1080. The same for the gates. Now, I don't know if you know why this was done.
I would assume it's for arena.
Exactly. That's also what I read. So apparently the arena tower rush was a very strong strategy for the arena clans to play with. So I don't know if you know what the strategy was.
Yeah, I suppose you build a tower and then start battering down the wall itself, or was it like the tower hop thing? No.
No, apparently not. So I heard that sometimes was the gate, I think, that was focused. So what was done is you build the tower outside the gate point of view, so that the opponent doesn't realize you're doing it. Then you batter down the gate with your vills, which takes less than a minute or about a minute.
What?
Yeah, apparently in Feudal Age. So you just batter it down with the tower there to make sure they can't wall behind. And then you just do your classic like trushing, so building towers everywhere. Now, apparently, this strategy was mainly effective when the stones or gold piles were quite forward.
Yeah.
So when you scout your opponent with your starting scout, you could maybe see if they had forward stone or gold and they're within their walls. If they do, you could go for the strategy, and apparently it was dominant.
Yeah, because if they're backwards, I suppose you could just fast castle and drop a castle in defense, and then the entire push would have only delayed the aggressor.
Exactly. So apparently this was something that was a real issue, and that's why they changed it.
Well, I don't think we will see, like, in general play Feudal Age stone walls or anything, right?
No. I mean, it's still too slow to build, right? The idle time, it's already a lot if you go for the palisades everywhere. So, and it delays your first TC, your TCs when you get to castles. So it's really an arena thing, I believe.
Yeah. If you do the tower rush, I feel like it's more like a hideout strategy, but apparently quite effective on arena as well.
Yeah. Well, now there goes my new strategy that I wanted to try.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you look at these patches, you think like, oh, I should have tried this and this, because you don't really know all the exploits.
This could give me a chance in arena, but no, they patched it.
They took it away. They
They
told
took
me
it
about it and took it away immediately.
Yeah. Indeed.
Also, for the elephant archers, they've also had a change in their stats. For them, it's their archer armor, which has been increased from -7 to -4. And that will mainly have an impact on the damage that they take from skirmishers, but also their cost has been decreased from 90 food and 70 gold to 80 food and 70 gold. So making them a bit less expensive on the food side, if you call 80 food not too expensive. But yeah, what do you think about this change?
I think it's a good change. I mean, we never see elephant archers in any of my games, at least. Although I think they can be quite strong if they are unexpected.
Have you ever faced elephant archers recently? No.
Well, there was this one game against you where you didn't tell me there was fish, and you managed to have a huge eco lead, so you could mass produce elephant archers. I was like, how is he still capable of producing that many elephant archers? This makes no sense. And I did find them to be quite difficult to deal with. Yeah, I mean, siege is not really as good as it is against skirms or archers. And yeah, knights even can be good, but yeah, again, if you have an absurd economy lead,
Yeah.
I think any unit can kill you. But in that case, the elephant archers are pretty strong.
But if you don't have the fish, I think 80 food now in the new patch is still very expensive early Castle Age. You can only start making them in Castle Age. So I think there will still be a situational unit. But I think this makes them more viable, and I like it. They are still very slow, very costly, but that's what you might expect from a tank unit, such as an elephant. And this just makes them a bit more easier and to play with and harder to counter. And yeah, I think they can be strong. I think they can make them even stronger when you compare their cost to like a knight, which is a very powerful unit, but is also mobile. I think, yeah, sure, make the tanks more tanky. Up for it.
I think the issue is going to be that the biggest advantage of going archers is that you're saving the food by making the archers, so you can freely spam vills and get upgrades. The fact that they have such a high food cost makes your economy look very different, and I don't know if it's worth it to to go for the elephant archers.
Yeah.
But perhaps it's a more of a slow push, I guess.
Yeah, it will depend on the situation, I think, because they don't have the biggest range. They're not mobile, but they're just like really strong. So if you really want to hold a position or take a position or make a push and force it, I think they can do great work. But I don't think we will see them too much now.
I think we should think about building them more in those like late game imp situations where population size is actually important, where you're at your pop limit.
Yeah.
Then they can be very much worth it. No, imagine a couple of elephant archers holding the line.
Yeah, like an arena or like a closed map or a very like streamlined map where you don't need the mobility. And the gold is also an issue, I think, because an imp 70 gold for the unit, which is not very fast. I don't know, but it's
true.
I like that they introduced the unit and they're still tweaking it, and I hope that I can see the potential of it.
Yeah, that's true. Good. The next point is the armored elephant line, and is now affected by siege engineers. So that's a plus 20% bonus to the bonus damage. I've actually done some testing in scenario editor.
Professional.
Imagine that. So I was playing around with the armored elephant.
Yeah.
So the baseline siege elephant, so that's the fully upgraded armored elephant, does about, well, it's like 110 damage to a house, per attack. Now, interestingly enough,
massive.
That's a lot, yes, indeed. But how much you think? How much more in percent you think Gurjara one does post imp?
Is it a mounted unit? The siege elephant? Yeah.
Yes.
So I would say half the damage extra.
Exactly that. About 160 damage it's doing each attack. So that's like really, really strong. It's like 4 to 5 attacks to kill a house. It's just very, very strong. And I think the fact that they are now affected by siege engineers, I don't know if it was really necessary. Maybe for the other ones, but the Gurjara ones.
Whew. Well, you're saying Gurjara, yeah. We'll get to that later because they've also been changed. But I think if we look at the general siege elephant, I also like this new unit. Maybe they're a bit too strong. And the siege engineers, yeah, maybe they didn't need it, but I don't mind a bit of a broken unit if it doesn't become the general go-to and really rules out all the other gameplay choices. Like if it's the only thing you see, okay, then that's not a good thing.
Well, have you had a couple of them attacking your castle?
Yeah.
What I found is that in normal situations, if those were rams, I just use my vills to take them down. But they actually do hurt the vills because they are affected by the siege, the blacksmith tax. Now siege engineers as well. So they actually can kill vills, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. But I'm not so sure because I haven't played them too much. They cost food.
Yeah, they cost food and
Yeah.
gold.
Yeah, so there needs to be a trade-off. They need to be stronger than the ram because, as I said with the elephant archer, it's like a very tanky unit. They can be really strong, but if all your units cost food and gold, there's a trade-off there automatically. And the thing about these tanks in general, in most games where you have tanky units, they're slow. You try and avoid them. The only problem is if they're pushing your base faster than you can migrate or raid them, then it becomes tricky.
And I think with these armored elephants, your base will be quickly pushed.
Yeah, especially if they have like half the extra damage. Yeah.
Definitely want to try those next game.
Yeah, or maybe team games. Like one person focuses on the siege elephants, and the other one adds some other army to it. Because I think siege elephants alone might not be the go-to. Yeah.
The biggest difference is that you can't put units into them as you can with the ram. That would have been awesome though. If you imagine if you see the units on top.
Yeah, and they don't fight faster, but the units on top fire arrows. No, yeah, that's maybe too new and refreshing for.
Then we need the Legolas unit that just auto kills them.
All right. So yeah, the armored elephant, and they've also changed the Empire Wars start. I think this was before in the game. It was like this, and then they changed it, and now they've changed it back. What?
Yeah, well, it was in the game. At the beginning, it wasn't in the game, as you said, and they just straight out banned, I guess, Chinese and who else? I mean, they just banned the civs.
Lithuanians, Persians, like all the civs who get like extras.
I remember the Chinese. I don't know if they had other bans, but then indeed, as you said, they just removed these bonuses, so made them very generic.
Yeah. So for the listeners who don't know what we're talking about just yet, what they have had removed and gave back to us is that when you start in Empire Wars, you start in the feudal age immediately, and some civilizations have bonuses, like when they age up or when they start in Dark Age, and they had removed those bonuses in Empire Wars, and now they give them back, both of the bonuses. So the Dark Age bonuses, let's say Persians start with 50 extra food and 50 extra wood, and the feudal age, so Ethiopians get 100 extra food and 100 extra gold. And I think they removed it to make it like more balanced, but now they added it back, so it will give a very, very new feel to Empire Wars and the strategic civ choice there.
Which is interesting because we have a huge tournament coming up, right, in Empire Wars, I think?
Yeah, so that will actually be a big thing for top players to focus on and decide their strategies.
To be fair, I'm not an Empire Wars pro, although I just recently played a game against the Lithuanians.
Yeah.
So now I can blame my loss to the fact that he received his starting bonus.
Yeah. Well, the thing, I was thinking about it because I didn't like the fact that it wasn't there, because it made the gameplay really stale. Like, well, in my opinion, the start is pretty straightforward. You make your archery range usually, or sometimes a stable. And like the civ choice, there were some powerful civs, but most of the civs, they were like meh. You know, not too many options that had like early bonuses working for them. And now that it's back, it will actually give more diversity, I hope, to the game. But still, those bonuses are actually made for RM, like the general random map situation. So I don't know if they will all transition in a way that is fair and playable. So I was thinking maybe they should like make altered bonuses Or would that
But
be going too far?
I don't think people are really waiting to have even more changes, you know? It's already how many civs are in the game right at this moment.
Yeah,
If you're then also having differences between game modes,
it's
between the,
complicated enough as it is.
one interesting thing to note here is it's not only buffs though, because apparently the Huns
Yeah,
that have the negative wood bonus, they didn't have this before, but they still had the 200 population.
yeah,
So now actually this is a straight up nerf to Huns, and they start with less wood than before, which is pretty funny.
yeah. But that's only fair, I think,
Yeah, of
because
course.
otherwise it's like they get all the perks and
And that's
no.
why they were high civ, right? They were highly picked on Empire Wars. So.
Yeah, yeah. The other civs who have these things, there's like Chinese or they have extra villagers, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
Mayans. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. We'll see what it gives in the tournament. Maybe these civs will be top picks now, like Mayans and Chinese. And
Maybe, but there's like so many options now.
yeah, but still, I mean, extra vills is the biggest bonus, right?
That's Bengalis, eh? Oh no, Chinese and
No,
Bengalis as well. They get two.
no, but maybe
Bengalis
that's
get two.
true. Maybe, but they
But they
still
suck.
suck.
Yeah, so don't do it.
You have two vills to build absolutely nothing with.
Yeah, and Dravidians, I think this one is one I like. They get 200 extra wood, which
Yeah.
might resemble the Cuman's cheaper archery range and stable they had, which was really big like
That
a
was
year
very
ago.
good. Mhm.
Yeah, and then they nerfed it. And last Wololo, that was the big one, Humans, I think, which I remembered, which
Yeah.
had like they could go stable and archery range immediately, or double archery range, which is always a big thing.
Or double TC. I mean, Cubans have a lot going on, no?
Yeah, but in Empire Wars, I think the double TC will be punished harder than I don't know. Depends on the map, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you wall correctly, maybe.
Like
Maybe
on
not.
one of the more closed maps, yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so moving on.
Mm-hmm.
The age advancement bonuses. Do you want to mention that as well, or?
Yeah, so that's the one like from Ethiopians. They get 100 extra food, extra 100 gold, and then Bengalis get the 2 extra villagers. So in general, for Empire Wars, it just means that like there's no differentiation. Whatever bonus you would get when you start the game in Feudal or in Dark Age, you get it. So
Okay.
that's the main thing.
Interesting. Now, the next point. The minimum buy price for all non-Saracen civilizations is reset to 23 instead of 25,
Okay.
with an addendum that the Saracens also got a change. Their market minimum buy price is now reset to 21 instead of 25. Now, actually, I did a little bit of research into this.
Oh.
So apparently, there was this thing where if you were a Saracen and you had 2,500 wood in total to spend,
Mm-hmm.
you could go to the market, sell all this wood, making wood at the lowest price possible.
I can feel it coming. Yeah.
Then you had the option of buying 100 wood for 25 gold
Yeah.
and selling it for 26. And you could keep doing this infinitely,
Yeah.
earning 1 gold each time you did the transaction.
Yeah, so that's like if you use the hotkeys, it's 2 keys and you get a gold, right? It's like
Well, actually, so yeah, indeed. So then I was looking even more into it. So some people were claiming, that it's a ridiculously stupid thing to do because, you are like just tapping 2 hotkeys like you're like an idiot. And they did some tests showing that you may maybe get 250 gold per minute, and that's like doing
not
nothing
worth
else
it,
but
yeah.
jamming those 2 keys. But other people said that there are macros
like bots or something.
which are not allowed, to be clear, which would automatically cycle the 2. So they would like buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell, earning them more money. And then also heard one unconfirmed, I should have tested this before, response that said if you just hold down, you could actually keybind both keys to the same key, hold it down, and it would go really quickly, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell, buy. So, and that would get you 1,000 gold per minute, just holding down
that's
one
sick.
key.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever it was, it's now fixed. So
It's a shame I found out about it now. They really need to leak out these things before they fix it, Let me have some
indeed,
fun.
you should allow us to bug abuse a bit more,
Yeah.
no?
Yeah.
So anybody who listens to this podcast, if you recently lost to the Saracens, he was 100% abusing this bug somehow, and your loss was undeserved. So
Yeah. Total
you should
Civ
appro-
win. Yeah.
it's total Civ win, total cheat. No, I don't know.
Yeah. I love my markets. I think the Saracens are great for it, but I didn't know this. This is interesting. Thank you for investing that much time into this.
Yes,
Made my day.
and I now know about the fixed bug.
Really valuable information. But now actually it just fixed the bug, right? That's
Exactly.
the
It's
thing they did. Yeah.
yes, again. I don't know how this will impact the Saracens, but I don't think it will. More interestingly, though, let's talk about one of the most important upgrades in the game, which is, of course, Treadmill Crane.
Oh yes, yeah.
So there's
Best
a
upgrade.
bunch of
Yeah.
civs that have either received access to Treadmill Crane, so that's the Britons, the Byzantines, the Malay, or have lost access to Treadmill Crane, which is the Teutons or Sicilians.
Mhm.
Now, the big important question. Pen, how often do you research Treadmill Crane?
Almost never. Maybe like in those really long Diplo games where you build a new bit, or like I will do it because I have the resin and PopCap, but actually, for the sake of it, never.
Well, this is why you're down there in the low elos, and I'm 1400. No, I'm joking. Actually, this is a DM, so deathmatch
Yeah,
buff. So in deathmatch, I don't know if you've played it before.
yeah. I've played one deathmatch when it was still ranked.
So you're an expert. You're well.
Yeah, I'm an expert. I won it. I have a 100% win rate on deathmatch. So yeah.
I think you've played it more than the average player. So in that match, you start with just a couple of vills and a lot of resources. So the game actually starts with you building 3-4 castles, a ton of stables, a ton of. So in those places, going for the quick treadmill crane has a huge impact on how the game perceives. So that's, I think, these changes are basically only for that match. I do sometimes go for treadmill crane and these long games where I want to build a lot of bomber towers.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That actually, I do like that when
Yeah.
you're going for the bomber tower push. That can actually be quite nice, but otherwise, indeed,
In games where you can build a wonder, I always do treadmill crane before I start building my wonder.
that works on wonders.
I don't know. I assumed it worked.
I guess so.
I didn't do
guess
the math.
so.
I don't
guess
have
it
the
does.
stats. I just thought, okay, you build faster, so I'll do it for my wonder, and you win the.
I mean, yeah, why not? That's a big deal. No?
I've
I mean,
online. I think I've built 3 wonders. Sometimes in like these big games, it doesn't really
yes,
happen.
against
You know.
me.
Yeah, against you, but that wasn't successful.
Okay, well, that's treadmill crane for you.
All right, and like the civs that lost it, the treadmill crane access. Those were the Teutons and the Sicilians, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I was thinking about it. Sicilians, they already built their castles and their town centers faster. So when they had treadmill crane, when I read about it and I thought about it, I thought like, oh, I want to play deathmatch with Sicilians. But again, it's gone now, so you can't try it out.
Wait, and the Teutons, you think it's because they have their ridiculous range castles?
Maybe,
I don't know if that has something to do with it. That
yeah, that might also be
maybe.
a strategy there.
I mean, we are just
crenellation
literally,
castles.
yeah, just like we have no idea what's going on in that
Yeah,
match.
deathmatch is pure hypothesis for me, but it's actually fun that way.
So, yeah, please don't tell us the answers. We prefer DM to be this exotic thing that we can just speculate about. You know, we don't need to have the answers.
It's like the lands beyond the shore, where all the elves go when they leave this world.
Yes, the elves are DM players.
All right. So for Bengalis, they've also made a few changes. Actually, they have given their monks +3 armor on both melee armor and ranged armor. And they fixed the bug with their elfin archers, giving them the intended bonus damage from their counter units. There was something wrong there. I don't know exactly what it was. But basically, they got orthodoxy for free now. And the bug fix with their elephant archers, if you look at it in synergy with the armor, with the tweaks they've made to the armored elephant and the elephant archer, this could make Bengalis better. But we've said it before, they are horrible Actually, their win rate is only 41%, so I doubt this will make this scrub civ get good. You know?
Well, wait, so they gave them the least researched unique tech from the Slavs, I guess? It was
But
a
for
Slav.
free. They
They
get
give
it
it
for
for
free
free. They get it
immediately.
for free.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that actually matters. Normally, if your monks are being attacked and they're not like Aztec monks, it doesn't really matter. They just die.
Yeah. But apparently, the monks, it makes a big difference for like trash units, for skirms or spearmen or pikemen, because they have low base damage. But for all the other units, it's like a minor difference.
I
So
think what this
yeah.
update is trying to tell us is if you random into Bengalis, go for the most ridiculous, stupid strats like
Yeah.
monks and siege or like
Yeah.
armored elephant. Ooh, monk armored elephant push.
Yeah,
Could
but
be fun.
could be fun. But even on arena, I think there's better options.
With
And then on
Bengalis?
open,
Not
no,
sure
not
about
with
that.
Bengalis. With Bengalis,
Of
you
course not with-
resign. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, I got Bengalis, I resign.
We're talking about the situation where you random into them and you do not
Yeah.
wish to resign.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think you could try it.
I mean, why not?
Yeah, or the Rafa. But that's also like, I think they do have option Bengalis, but it's all so hard to come to. Maybe they're a good deathmatch if.
The problem with the Ratas is that when they switch modes, they should switch weakness. So when they're in their archer mode, there should be like, okay, skirms are good. Then maybe that would be a problem, I guess. Maybe it's too strong then, because then indeed it's like, I build skirms. Oh no, now they're cavaliers. Okay, I'll build pikes. Oh, now they're cav archers. So
Yeah. And also, I still prefer to make cav archers with just a few light cav for when they make. Like, it's so much easier. But they look cool.
They look cool. Moving on, Burgundians. So another civ that starts with a B. Much stronger though. The Burgundians have seen a lot of success, I think, in the pro games. They are not that easy to play, as you can research your economy tax an age earlier, and they also cost, well, they used to cost 50% less food, the tax. Now they've slightly nerfed that, making it only cost 40% less. So I find them quite difficult to play if you've never practiced with them, because you have to incorporate your economy tax in a different moment. But I don't know, what are your findings with them? How do you play with them?
I love them. The moment they came out, when they could research their tax in age earlier, I was immediately triggered by it. Like, I wanted to try it out. I wanted to like, oh, that's so awesome. The reduction of food. I think if you look at the majority of players, I think this is not the biggest thing, but it just makes it more playable. When you look at the top level, those things are, yeah, when everything is like measured by an inch, it's, yeah, those things will really put somebody ahead in certain situations.
And do you like to play with the Cousteliers?
I like to see them in action. I don't like to play them as much, just because they like the charging. It's like hit and run, right? But not as easy as it is with like your cav archers. I haven't done it too much, but yeah, I like it.
I've heard that, pros seem to agree that the Cousteliers are a very strong unit, and that's why they've actually been nerfed. So the charge damage, so normally the Coustelier, indeed, as you said, has an increased damage on the first hit, and this then needs to recharge.
Yeah.
So they've both reduced the damage that this special charge does from 25 to 20. They've also done the same for the elite. So mainly what I've heard is that now I think the elite Kusili cannot one-hit Vils anymore. Apparently they could before.
Yeah.
Just run in there and just one shot to Vil. So that's been nerfed. So interesting.
Yeah, I'm not so sure if I like this nerf, because even though they dominate pro gameplay, I think it's like a unique mechanic, and I really like the fact that they add these new things. And if they nerf it too much, like the attack, why would you do it in a certain time? But I think it's still a lot, right? It's 20 and 25 damage extra they give now, so it's still big. But I would prefer if like made the recharging time longer or something like this, so you couldn't really do it all the time. but then it's still very powerful, but you need to run all the way back and then,
Yeah, it could be.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
So the hit and
understand.
run is still a big thing, but you can't do it as much.
It's more difficult for them to play around it. They have to like retreat further, and that gives you the opportunity to push or
And to wall,
Mm. Yeah, I think that would be more interesting indeed. But
but it didn't nerf it too much, right?
no. Well, it is 20% less, something like that.
We'll see if they get picked in the new Red Bull Wololo, and then
Indeed.
we'll see what it does on the pro level.
Now, for the next Civ Dravidians, they've actually
Mhm.
have received the Bombard Cannon as a new unit in the Siege Workshop. I've heard that Dravidians are not so popular, and they've actually been mostly seen as being weak in the earlier ages, like Feudal Age. So I've heard mixed feelings about this change. I don't know if you've played with Dravidians before.
Yeah, I have, but on Nomad, because their dogs give 5 pop space.
Right.
It gives them a nice start in Nomad, and it's also for your entire team, and then they get the 200 wood. So I like them on like the Nomad start. Maybe they're also good on water or hybrid, but I've never played them intentionally on a land map.
Well, I think it is seen as an archer civ, so it's always good to have another way to deal with an opponent going siege onagers or onagers. So why not?
Yeah.
I guess I don't think it will change the power of the civ, but it's a welcome change.
They're also not like a big civ. Like giving them this, I think they didn't really have good cav, so they would
horrible cav.
die hard against siege. I think, like siege onager or units like this, they have no counter. So I think they needed the bombard cannon just from a civ balance perspective, but I don't think this will make them much better. It's like another option they got, but it will still very much be infantry, elephant archers. Yeah.
As an aside, when Dravidians were like spoiled, they were like the first civ where people were saying this one is going to be so overpowered. Look, Wook Steel, it ignores armor. It's for both their infantry and their cavalry. And then they saw the full tech tree.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really work in practice. So yeah, I don't know what's. Were you also disappointed with the power of Wook Steel or the infantry in general of this civ?
Yeah, but just in general, for the first month or so, I couldn't keep them apart. I wasn't playing too much at the time, like all the new Indian civs.
It's racist.
But Dravidians is actually one of the Dravidians and Gurjaras are the two I still play, if I can help it.
No love for the Hindustanis?
Well, they're strong, but they're
amazing. Well, we'll get to that. First, there was another change, right?
Yeah.
A big one?
Yeah, the big one, and I think the one where on a top level most people have been asking for. So, Gurjaras. The civilization has been the topic of many rants, and the statistics even back this up. It is an extremely successful civilization. And I can only say that myself, I've only got success with them on team games, so they're not that easy to play, I would say. But they have got their nerf in 2 major ways. And the first of it is their milling of herdables, which is a feature they have where they put their herdables in their mill and they give a trickle of food. And now there's a new calculating system behind it where the gathering rate no longer adds up when you put more herdables in it, but you get more for the first herdable, and each time you put a herdable in after that, it gives you a bit less than the first. So for a fully packed mill, it would still be the same result, but it has less of a stacking effect.
Can I interrupt you with a silly remark? When I'm reading the patch notes, when I read the calculations, like 15 in food amount divided by plus this, I imagine the meme of this guy from So It's Sunny in Philadelphia with all the calculations, like going like, whoa.
Yeah. Also, did you see the video from Spirit of the Law about the new system?
No, but I can imagine he had a lot of fun with it.
Well, he said they deprived him of his fun because they put the formula in the patch notes, and he gets off from really finding the formula behind it, and it's like they took away his fun.
They need to give him like a new challenge every month. Like
Yeah.
we made a change, but we didn't. Well, we won't tell you where.
Yeah.
Huh.
But well, in general, the nerf of the mills or the change of the mills, it's not really a nerf. I think it's just a change. I think it will only be a major impact on maps with a lot of hurtables, such as some of the nomadic maps or the mega random maps, where before you could exploit this feature and just turn it into a cheesesteak Jimmy's, basically.
That's a long time ago. Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Yeah.
I remember having so much trouble spelling that when I was 8
Yeah,
years old.
it's really hard because it had a like
An
the
apostrophe.
apostrophe.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, but that was, I think in general, I'm not so sure what the main impact will be. But I have thought, because the first sheep give you more now, it might even be a strategy to like eat a sheep or two and then put the rest in the mill. But
I think this is where we need the spirit of the law.
yeah, that's something
He-
Spirit will
Have fun with.
tell us.
Uh,
Yeah.
Is it just me, or is the wording on this change slightly worrying? Where it's like the elite the elite Shrivamsa, oh my god, Shrivamsa rider,
Shravamsha. Yeah.
Shrivamsa rider, upgrade cost now matches the intended amount.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, what? It wasn't?
Yeah.
What?
So that's actually that's not a balance change. It's more like a bug fix, which, yeah, I'm not so sure. I think it was cheaper before.
It's like a typo then, because I can't imagine the code of upgrade costs being very complicated. You just have probably like, the value is this or this, and the only way that's not correct is if someone made a mistake in typing it in the code. No, I
Yeah.
just can't see any. That's interesting.
I don't do the coding, but sometimes they have like civs getting bonuses which they shouldn't get and stuff. So I'm not so sure what really causes
Right.
it.
Well,
But yeah, that's just basic. What they have changed for the Shravamsha that is more of a big deal is that their recharge time has increased. And from them, it used to be 15 seconds, now it's 20 seconds. And their recharging mechanic works like this. Actually, when they get fired at by ranged arrows, they lose a bit of their charger. And when their charger is depleted, that's when they start taking damage. So it says they dodge arrows, but that's just basically the system behind it.
do you
And it
know
was-
how many arrows?
Do you?
Yes, I do. I'm testing your knowledge.
Okay, my knowledge is more like a gut feeling, So please,
It's five arrows.
five
exactly.
arrows now or before
The
the
same.
patch?
It's still 5.
The same. Okay, yeah. It's still 5, and then it takes 5 seconds
Exactly.
more to
But that's a good
Sure,
change, I
yeah.
think. Like you said, we like to see, maybe you have seen that with the Couseliers. The fact that the recharge time is longer means that it's a little bit more difficult to go and
Yeah.
raid and run back.
If they want to make these hit and run units, they shouldn't make it a tank and like a nuclear bomb. They should make them like a pit and then let them
I have
recharge
to
and
say,
retreat.
I found when Shivamsa riders were first revealed that people were a bit disappointed with their stat line, saying they're just like slightly fancier scouts. But now apparently that's not the case, and people are saying that they are very strong. It costs almost no gold. They're like, so I don't know. Maybe they are stronger than they look at the beginning. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I actually love them. First of all, they have a look to them which resembles the cavalry from Age of Empires 1.
I knew you
which-
were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
Which, as you know, is my deepest nostalgia feeling I have. But yeah, it hasn't aged as well as Age of Empires 2, but whatever. But they look a bit like it. I like that. And also, like, if you go under a TC and not care, it doesn't matter that they don't have good stats. You can just run through bases. Just the power of that is like the same difference with archers and cav. You can use the mobility and just throw them in somebody's base, and you don't even have to look at them, and they will do the damage. Idle time, villager kills, just basically messing up somebody's mindset. It's yeah, I love the unit.
I think you should, in general, not look too much when you throw your cavalry units under someone's DC. Like I've noticed when I'm focusing on my eco and just about producing more of them, I don't really care what they're doing as long as they're not like getting hit by a castle. I'm just like, let them have the idle time. It's fine.
Yeah.
So you like to mix these units in with some knights or camels or I don't know.
Yeah, or just send them in while you're fighting on another front. Send some Shravamshas in their base. But the thing is, Shravamshas you can make early castle already. So you wouldn't send your knights early castle in under somebody's DC. You could send your Shravamshas because they have they take no damage, not reduced damage. They take no damage from those first 5 arrows. That's massive.
Yeah, exactly. Well, except that Gujaros cannot build knights, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. But they have other options. Which brings me to the final thing they've changed, which is Gujaras, they had extra bonus damage
Okay.
for their mounted units. And it used to be 50%, which is why I said the elephant would have half the extra damage done. Because
Ah,
it's 50% extra. Now it's 40%.
okay.
Now, how do you feel about the change from 50% extra bonus damage to 40%?
I still think it's a lot. I mean, the Gurjara camels are just monsters, no? They just destroy everything.
Yeah.
I actually, so that means what kind of bonus damage are in the game? It's like scouts against monks, right?
Yeah.
Like camels, of course.
Yeah.
I don't know what else.
The armored elephant versus buildings.
Of course, of course. Do knights have bonus damage to anything? Oh, I mean, okay, they don't get knights, right?
Yeah, they don't get
do
it.
Shrivamsa riders, do they do bonus damage? I have no idea.
I don't know. I would hope
No, I
not.
don't think so. That's something we should have looked up.
But still, the main thing is just the camels, right?
Yeah.
Camels versus knights, which is already a soft counter normally, or just like a counter unit. But now 50%, that's massive. That makes them even more powerful than an imp camel versus cavalry.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So that's actually, they have the best counter to knights, almost. And then also, if you go ranged, they can make the Shrivamsha. So
Oof.
I think the main issue with Gurjaras isn't really the mill bonus or even the fact that they have a unit that can dodge arrows, but it's just the fact that they have everything.
Well,
They can, yeah.
what do you do against infantry, though?
The unique unit, which has like the scorpion-like attack.
Oh, yeah, that's
The
true.
disc thrower. I don't know the name. I don't play
Chakra.
Chakra. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So they really have it. They have the answer to everything. And I think just because the things you see most are archers and cav, right? I would say give them the Shrivamsha and don't nerf it too much, but take away this extra bonus damage for their camels because that's really they can make it 20% or even 0.
No, I think it's going to end up being between 20 to 30. I think.
That's still so much.
Yeah, but I mean, camels still have a lot of weaknesses, right?
Yeah.
They don't do enough damage to vills. I think that would be better, but we'll see. I would say to our listeners, play Gurjaras. As long as you still can.
They're still very strong. They've been nerfed a bit, but not enough that they will no longer be dominant, I feel.
Now, going from one strong camel civ to another, the Hindustanis have also been nerfed. So Hindustanis, formerly known as Indians, were also changed with the patch, the expansion. So Hindustanis had these two very strong new unit called the Gulams. So they were made from the castle. They were kind of fast running infantry that were very good against archers. So their attack pierces through multiple units, and they had high, not really Huskar level, but relatively high pierce armor as well. So they were absolutely destroying archers. So they've changed the base HP from the Gulams by 10 points, so from 65 to 55, and the same for the elite. So what do you think? Have you tested the Gulams or played any Hindustanis?
Not since the dispatch. The reason why I didn't mention Hindustanis before is because to me they feel a lot like Indians, but the Gulam is a new thing, and they've also tweaked like their civ bonuses a bit. It's
a massive thing. Like before they had the elephant archer, there was actually a unique unit that now they literally cannot build anymore, which is kind of funny. But the Gulam is just way better as a archer counter. Like they are fast, they are destroy them in an instant, and they can also harass vills very well.
Do you know what they are also good against?
Tell me.
Do you know how they go against eagles?
I have no idea, actually.
Yeah, I don't have the math or the things about it, but they're pretty good because of the way they attack, and their base stats were pretty good against eagles. So I saw this one matchup where like a player was mines against Hindustanis, and there was like nothing he could do
But yeah, what can
because
they
his
do?
eagles were countered and his archers were countered. So he could go infantry maybe, or like it was like I was perplexed at that Civ matchup.
Yeah.
But maybe with HP being diminished, this will make a difference. But I think the main thing why they are also good against eagles is because of the way they attack.
The Pierce. To be honest, the Indians had a huge problem dealing with mesosieves before.
Yeah.
And now, Indians were very weak to mesosieves. So the fact that they gave them a unit that completely destroys, I think, anything a Mayan player can go. I mean, the Aztecs.
Slingers.
No, that's
from
Incas.
From Incas, yeah.
And the Aztecs have Jaguar warriors, which are meme-tastic.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, only Mayans would have a huge issue.
Mayans are counter the hardest. Yeah.
That's the Gulam, so we'll see how that affects them. Another interesting thing was the halberdiers. So Hindustanis have, of course, imperial camels. It's like their main unique unit, a super strong kind of camel, a paladin version of a camel. So they were always known to be a good counter for other cav civs, but they also had halberdiers, which was completely redundant. I mean, not really redundant. It was very strong because they wanted to go gulams with this new strong unit, so they wanted to get infantry techs. So they were actually going for halberdiers as well. So they had this gulam halberdier mix that was super difficult to stop, and they only needed to get infantry techs in the blacksmiths.
And easy to get to, right?
Exactly.
And it's very hard to stop, I would assume.
So it looks like just a small change, lose access to halberdier, but it's going to have a huge impact because now if they are faced with cavalry, they're going to be going camels, which is a logical thing, and they won't be as easily switching into gulams when the opponent goes for archers. So actually, I think it's going to be a big change, just the fact that they lose halberdiers. And a good change, I think.
They still have all the options. It's not like a hard nerf, but it will just make it harder for them to adapt or like take a bit more time.
Yeah, but also it felt wrong. You see a pro playing Hindustanis and never building a camel. I mean,
yeah,
it just doesn't seem correct.
And then it's weird that they get the Imperial camels and it would be the camel Civ when they don't really get the incentive to play them. And then the Hindustanis with their extra bonus damage to...
No, the Gurjaras.
The Gurjaras, yeah. So I think this is a good change, yeah.
Exactly. Now, another good change is the Korean War Wagon. So the Elite War Wagon has a nerf. The Cavalry Archer armor was reduced from a 0 to a -1. Now, I don't know if you've played a lot of Nomad or this kind of maps, but a Korean War Wagon push was very difficult to stop. It would just be parked under your TC, shooting everything, don't care about arrows. So I think this gives them more of a weakness to skirms. I don't know if you've had to face War Wagons being rushed to you in any of your games.
Yeah, and it's normally not just the War Wagons, it's also like guard towers or castles. They're like a very strong nomad Civ, but I feel very aggressive also. So usually they don't have the best eco behind it.
No.
But that's not the point. The point is they can just focus their eco on producing War Wagons, and then it's like a snowball.
Yeah, and they have the stone bonus, so they can easily get to that stone they need.
Yeah. So I think it's a good change. I don't know what -1 will do. But
well, it gives an extra damage basically to the skirms, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, I know what it does, but I don't know what the effect on the game will be from this one extra damage per hit.
Well, often what I feel is like when you're reacting to it, you weren't really prepared, so you're like, oh, I got castle dropped, I have war wagons attacking me, I'm gonna build an archery range, I have like 2-3 skirms against 3-4 war wagons, and it doesn't end very well. So just keep surviving. Koreans are still very strong, and it's more like a small change that makes it a little bit easier to stop. It's only the elite as well, so that's really like, I think more for late game stages it could have an impact.
Yeah, once they have the big mass already. Because in the early stages, I don't know, do you counter with skirms? I tend to go knights against.
I don't go knights because often they're like hiding under the castle. So your knight just gets like sniped. I prefer to go monks, honestly.
Monks, yeah.
Yes, and just monks and keep booming. Just make your economy widespread and big so the castles don't hurt you that much. and then just pump out some monks. That's what I do.
Well, next up, there's Sicilians. Now, they've had this feature I don't know if it's from the start, but for a long time at least, where they had 50% extra bonus damage resistance for land military units. And this has been reduced to 33%. So instead of getting half the bonus damage, they now get about a third.
Okay. Seems like a big change.
Seems like a big change, yeah. Well, I'll give my own insight because I don't have the testings or the stats behind it, but I feel like the extra bonus damage is like a nice thing. Like if you're going with scouts or with archers, it gives you a bit more punch and it's harder to stop. But still, a third is also good, I think.
Yeah.
And the main reason why Sicilians are really strong lately is not this bonus damage resistance, but it's actually their unique tech Hauberg, which gives their knights line extra armor. So they have the cavalier with the highest pierced armor imaginable, which actually makes them really hard to stop. And then in addition to that, you have the extra bonus damage, so I get it, and I think it will do something. Make them easier to stop with like halberdier or pikes but in most situations where you're not using the unique tech and going knights, like let's say archers in feudal or scouts or whatever, I'm not so sure whether this was really that powerful and
Right.
whether it's that much less powerful now.
Maybe just me, but I found Sicilians very much overshadowed by Burgundians. Like, I literally almost never see them in game, and I at one point thought they were the same civ almost. So I think the Sicilians to me are quite an unknown player. But I do think it's nice that, like you said, if you like to send your knights into your opponent's eco, having them as highly resistant to pierce damage, it's only going to make them last longer under the towers and the castles and the TCs and I don't know what. So,
well, I actually like Sicilians, and I used to play Burgundians a lot. Now I play Sicilians more because they also, their farming tax, I think it's double even. So like if you do horse collar, it's double the food extra you get.
Okay.
So that's massive. If you just get horse collar, you have massive farms, and just in general, they have really good options. But they started off like an infantry civ with the sergeant and the dungeon rush. But now in a patch a while back, they've changed and they got the Hauberg tech, and now they're really a cav civ, I feel. They don't get paladin of the strongest cavalry in game.
So another time where the infantry civ gets changed to a cav civ, and
because nobody plays it.
yeah, nobody plays infantry. But okay, that's interesting. So I think that concludes all the changes to the civilization.
It does.
Quite an interesting mix of stuff. I wonder how people are going to like playing with those, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing how Empire Wars will go with those changes to starting ages, right?
Yeah, I think that will be the main test of whatever balance we have right now. I would say that there's a lot being said about certain changes, and people can say, oh, this civ needs a nerf or this civ. But in general, if you don't look at the Bengali win rate, most, and maybe not the Gurjaras, most civ are actually really around that 50% win rate, if you look at the statistics. So I feel like we do have a very good balance in our game, and still we get variation in civs and in gameplay. So I think we're at a good spot, and I really like the fact that they're still tweaking, and it just triggers your interest, like these little things they can. I want to play this if I want to try it out.
Yeah,
and that's what keeps us going.
Indeed, it's good to have a change. Now let's hope next patch they'll finally do what needs to be done and remove the Britons from the game.
I knew I gotta say it. I knew it.
So you want to quickly go over the new maps that were added to?
Yeah. So basically, I will start off by saying this. I love maps, and I think this game has so many good maps, and the tournaments have even more crazy good maps. But it's just a shame that most of the maps aren't being played in ranked or in the lobby games. But now this will change because they've added 2 new maps, completely new. Morris and Shoals, which were used in the Wallalow Legacy qualifier, which were made by Crasini, also the maps. And now they are in our game, and they're also, I've seen, into the Empire Wars ranked map pool.
Exactly.
So this is a good change, I think. It adds a lot of variety to the game. Basically 2 new maps. And the first one, Morris, I've tried it out. It looks a bit like Sacred Springs, actually. But the fish are all gathered around the middle. It's like a mix of Sacred Springs, maybe like enclosed with the forest in the middle, but then, yeah, it's a really crazy map. In the middle, you have the forest and fish around, and then lots of researchers. So I think it's a map where aggression will be key.
And do you go for the dog then in the middle, or is it
No,
not?
no. More like Sacred Springs, where you have like the very small spots of fish. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So I think a lot will be feudal aggression. You mill the fish, and then you fight early on to try and deny resources.
Okay.
So I think a map that invites aggression, invites some new build-up, so like a new start. I would like to see it in RM also, but for now it's just in Empire Wars.
And okay, do you have any recommendations for specific like civs? You want to go aggressive, or do you have anything in mind?
Well, I think like a civ which can age up fast is always great, like Lithuanians, because they have the extra food. I don't know about the hunt in the map. I think there is hunt, so Mongols could also
It says
do.
the outskirts are rich in vulnerable wildlife, so maybe there's some stuff on the edges.
I would say Indians, but they no longer exist, which had a fishing bonus, which I miss a bit. But it has
Wasn't
been
that given?
not exactly the same way. It's like, which one is it? Dravidians?
Dravidians.
Well, they hold more fish, so they need less walking time, which is not really the same thing as gathering faster.
It could be good if you have your mill next to the fish, and when your first pond is finished, you don't necessarily need to rebuild the mill.
In those situations, it's better, like if you're walking a bit more, but it doesn't really give you that faster feudal age, which Indians had if they milled the fish.
Yeah, that's a shame, actually, yeah? Why didn't the Dravidians get that? That would have been interesting.
Yeah, it's more powerful. If they would have that implied, I think they would have a far stronger effect. Just going to feudal fast is so powerful. Yeah.
Should we start a campaign to get Dravidians to get this bonus?
Give them a proper fishing bonus. They don't need to hold more. They need to bring it in faster. Yeah. And then you just manage your mills and you don't need to walk as much. So
I'm in favor for this. Yeah. Let's tweet out justice for Dravidians. Give them the fishing bonus they deserve.
Yes, I'm up for it too. So basically that's Morris or Morass. I don't know. How do you say it?
I can more
Morass.
I don't think it's Morass.
I think it's Morass, you say.
Okay, Morass.
And then
I can introduce the other map actually if you want.
Okay.
Because I actually played it.
Really? Nice.
So, yes.
Tell me about it.
So the other map is called Shoals. Basically, it has water in the middle, which is traversable by these little tiny bridges. So there's like one or two
shallows, or like
but it's like a really thin layer of shallows that cross the middle. So you can actually cross. You start with the dock and the fishing ship. There's these gold piles at the edges. So if it's a 1v1, you have a gold pile on the left and the right of this water, a bit like the typical protect the gold maps, a golden pit style things.
But there's two. It's not like one centralized,
No, two on each side, and there are very small patches everywhere. You can't really easily build a TC or a castle in the middle of it, but you can build it relatively close to it. So I've actually tested this map. What I found is that you don't have as much gold as you want at the beginning, so your base, you quickly run out of gold, and that's actually what happened in my game. So you want to build up some of your TCs, maybe your castles, in those gold spots to have access to it. The weird thing is that you also start with a special tower. I don't know why, it's called a sea tower.
Mm-hmm.
So it's literally standing at your dock, and it's a tower that shoots more than one arrow. So it shoots like 4 arrows, yes. So when I started, I went for the classic, fire ship approach. Wanted to harass my opponent's fish, and this tower was actually quite annoying. Yeah, it's something to keep in mind. If you want to harass the fish, they have a defense of some sort already. So I think it's interesting, but a bit weird for me. It's a bit mix of a lot of different things.
Yeah, I've played it as well, and I think in this map you might open galleys instead of fire galleys.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
Because you can retreat to your own tower, also with your fish, and you can snipe fish with galleys, but the fire ships you get close, so I wouldn't use them. Like, if you control the middle with galleys, I think you have a very good position, and you just need to make sure you don't lose the sides
Hmm.
or demos.
It's actually quite interesting. Did you use those little passageways through the water or not in your game?
No, I didn't. I walled off my base, and suddenly enemies were walking straight into my base because the pathways also go like straight through the middle, straight into your
Yeah,
base.
I didn't have this issue. I walled like yeah, not towards the water. So, but I was playing randomly Burmese and against Lithuanians, so try hard,
Ah,
and I
yeah.
went like full spears, pikes siege. And he went for the skirms, but the skirms are quite quick, so they were annoying to. I should have gone with scorpions, I think, looking back at it. And in the end, when I gave up, I saw he had mined. He had about 4 times the amount of gold that I had, so
Oh, that's massive.
it was a bit brutal.
But you didn't really play water with him.
No, we did a little bit of fire ship fighting, and then we both gave up when we kind of killed each other's fish. So I don't know. It's an interesting map, but it's a lot going on, and I don't know what to make of it.
Also, the fish it's all shore fish. There's no deep
Ah,
fish in the water. So fish
really?
is not nearly as effective as it would be in another map, yeah.
Oh, well, that's bad. Interesting.
Yeah, because it's like it's a shoal, so it's not that deep. I think that's the reason behind it. I think water is very important, but more for map control, like demo ships, range from the galleys, just ways that you control a big area
Yeah,
if you
but
control the water.
I don't know, because you can, at least in my experience, I don't know if it's true, but I had the feeling you could mine the gold without being ranged from the water, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's quite far away from the water, no?
Yeah, you can. It's not a way of attacking, it's more a way of controlling the choke points.
I think you could really just ignore the water then, if it's just shoalfish. And I mean, protecting the gold is way more important. So I would just tower or castle drop the golds and ignore the water completely and just wall off in a not towards the water, and I think you're fine.
And how do you start feudal then? You just go straight fast castle like a normal land map? Or
No, I think Cav is good because it's quite a while away.
mm-hmm.
I think yeah, just play it like I would just run out my opponent, run his gold out, so try to get access to the golds and just fight until he has no gold and then kill him.
Yeah, but this is the thing why I like hybrid maps or like maps like this that are a bit special. It's like you have options, and
Mhm.
it's not necessarily that you need to do A or B. It also depends a bit on what your opponent might be doing on the civilizations. And I think Shoals is one that will be interesting, and I hope we see it a lot. Like, I would like to see it in the random map pool as well. Morris as well, but Shoals I think is a really special map. Like, really nice.
Yeah, I'm always disappointed if you don't see the new maps, no, with the pros. If they just choose not to play one, I'm always so,
Yeah.
like Houseboat. Give me all the Houseboat you have.
Well, I've seen it now. Well, I can see more of it. I just don't. If they ever put that into the ranked pool, I would say like, oh no, they've put Michi in it now. That's worse enough. Into the team map.
Just as an aside, I don't know if you saw, you can vote for the new maps in game now,
Yeah, you can.
and you can actually see before voting the percentages.
Yeah,
And I don't know about you, but I find it quite demotivating because when I see one map has like a high vote already, I feel like it's no point in voting for my favorite map. I don't know.
did you vote before when you needed to go to their like website or
No.
forum? I did it,
Never.
and you also had it. But usually I vote quite early, and there's not that much results. And yeah, the maps I like are generally not very much liked. But yeah, I still do it. There's not too many people voting, so you might have, if you're lucky, yeah, things could change up.
If you have a big enough audience, we could pressure and make
We could do
certain
it.
maps included.
The main thing I would ask of our listeners is that you don't always choose the same maps you already know. If there's like a new map which you haven't played yet, click it and vote for it. Because it's the ranked map pool is very repetitive in my mind.
Except if that map looks like Arena, then it's fine not to click it, right?
Yeah, but Arena, no, because it's not in the game. But they had like, did you watch the 19 Titans League?
Yes.
Did you see the arena variant there?
Yes.
I would love to play
Yes.
this.
Much
Yeah.
more interesting.
Like where the
Yes,
around
much more
there's
interesting.
like an opening and you don't have
Mhm.
walls, and in the middle there's
Mhm.
gold and you do have walls, and it's like, oh, do you attack on the side? Do you go for the middle? What do you do? Yeah, I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. I always laugh when I watch Mumm commenting when someone walls the sides. He always proclaims, "And now we're back to arena," in frustration, which I always find quite funny.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I think that map is very interesting, and it's you can actually go aggressive with cav or scouts and prevent the wall off if
Mhm.
it gives a lot more options than arena. So maybe you should just, well, I guess the crowns are quite strong, but I would love for that map to become the standard, not arena.
For which? Sorry.
For just in general to have that one as a fixed replacement for arena.
Yeah. For arena. Yeah, I get it.
Just swap them out.
And to get Nomad for a fixed replacement for Arabia, right?
Just every map is Nomad. There's no other. But you have land, you have normal, you have.
Yeah,
No, I don't know.
that would be good.
Okay, do you have anything else? No.
I think that concludes the civ balances or
Yep,
the map
that's it.
as well. There's been some changes in the maps as well, like just like fixes issues and they redistributed the way gold and stone was on islands, but it's nothing. I think the main thing is that they have 2 new maps, which are Morris and Shoals.
Okay, then I'll talk to you listeners later.
Ciao.